Parkinson's got a condition. Thank you.
Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Elizabeth Horn, a member of this congregation and the worship team here at 1U. To continue with the exploration of this month's theme, the practice of story, today's worship is led by our special guest and my dear friend, Bobby Wesley. Bobby is a storyteller, writer, performer, and one of the co-hosts of Orlando Story Club. Reverend Margalit Belazaire you have a fan out there. Reverend Margalit Belazaire is out today and will return to the pulpit next week. We are also joined by our Director of Music, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, accompanist Daniela Monzon Vilegas, our Chalice Choir, Jacob Hike on the drums, and Board of Trustees member Beth Tora. And Jackson will be helping to light our chalice. And let's not forget our teams of wonderful people in the background working diligently to ensure that we come together this morning. So thank you. We greet you this morning, old friends and new ones, as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, you are welcome here. In this community, your whole self is welcome. We welcome your race, national origin, immigration status, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. Now for announcements. After we light our chalice today, children will go to Children's Chapel with our Director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment, Judith Stein-Farrall. The youth will be welcome to remain in the service or join the younger children when they process out. The nursery is open until noon for toddlers through pre-K. And next up, Lene has an announcement on behalf of the auction committee.
You did it. We had a great event last night. If you missed it, we might be having a few more items available in the coming weeks. Some people have said maybe they would offer a little more, so watch for that. But if you were there or if you bid at home, please open your phone or your desktop and look for the email that says please pay. You do have to push the confirm button. I think it might have seemed like, oh, well, if I got the high bid, it automatically paid. Doesn't automatically pay until maybe about Wednesday, then we will automatically pay for you. But this gives you, if you decided you wanted to pay by check, you can do that. See me afterwards in Gore Hall. Second thing is, you're going to see all these beautiful ferns from Michael Lewis. Thank you. They were all purchased last night. So if you purchased 1 or 2 or 3 or however many, please take them home today. And then finally, we have 2 high items that are available for discussion. So come see me if you're interested in the Disney print or the beautiful silk rug. So thank you to everyone who volunteered, donated, came to the event. I hope you had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you to Lene and everyone who contributed to that successful event. And finally, support the Girl Scouts who meet on our campus. There will be a cookie sale today in Gore Hall. Yes, we love that. All right, for more information about our congregation and announcements, go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We also have information on the slides before the service, and we have links in the weekly update and on our website. If you would like to follow along to the service, please use the QR code shown in the monitor. Thank you again for being here in person and online today. Now, helping with our chalice today is Jackson with help from his mom. Jackson likes to read comic books and scholastic books. His favorite comic book characters are Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and Hawkeye. Now, please say these words with me as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Today, we are also going to send our children with a piece of our chalice as they go on to their children's chapel together. So let's do as we normally do and form a loving arch for our children to walk under as we sing This Little Light of Mine. Now, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. The words will appear on the screen above.
Morning, everybody. It's great to see you all. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. The words for today's call to worship are by Reverend Scott Taylor. Who dreamed you into being? What stories sat in their heart as they imagined what you would become? Who helped you imagine your story? Who helped you see your place in the story of the world? And what maybe matters the most, who helped you understand that you could be the author of your own unfolding? All of which is a way of asking, who listened? Who listened until you could hear yourself speak? Until you trusted the voice that is your own? And now that you know what it is to have the tale of yourself be heard into being, how might you midwife the story of another into existence? You know the kind of stories I'm talking about, those kept in cramped spaces of silence. For fear of how hard and narrow the world of ours can be, who needs your listening so their story can be set free? So it knows it's worth entering into the world. We say it's about listening, but it's really about love. It's through our affection that our stories are born, that they are wooed into this world. Never forget that, nor this. It is through loving the stories of others and the stories of our own that we discover they love us back. So be it. Amen. Now, if you will come, let's take a moment to greet one another as we come to worship. And I have a little addendum or a twist to this as you worship, as you welcome one another. This theme is about story this month, and for today I'll be sharing a little piece and some thoughts as well. So as you greet one another, maybe share a little bit of your own story, what brought you here today from your life, or what you hope to get out of today and being here. So how about that? All right. A lot of laughter. Hi. I'm going to greet you, dear. Hey, Timur. I'm Bobby. Thanks for having me today, man. Yeah, glad to be here.
Have any youth or young at heart who are still here who would like to join me here? People kept asking, are we still doing Time for All Ages, even though we have Children's Chapel? Yes, because it's time for all ages. So I invite your inner child to join us for this next portion of the service. Today we are talking about story, so I have a story for you about story. Yes! Yay! Thank you, friends. Oh, this is really joyful. All right. So, a long time ago, in a very small village, there lived an old woman who the villagers called the storyteller. Nobody knew her name or even where she came from. But every single night, she would light a fire and she would invite the villagers to join her. And as the villagers joined her, she would share with them all sorts of stories, happy stories, sad stories, hopeful stories, magical stories. And eventually, the villagers started coming with requests. They would say, "Storyteller, can you tell me a story about getting old? Can you tell me a story about dreams?" And no matter what the request was, the storyteller would always oblige. So eventually the the villagers were just so full of gratitude, they started asking her, "Storyteller, how can we repay you for these wonderful stories?" And she would say, "Tell me a story of your own." Oh, but the villagers were too shy to do that. They were too scared to tell their own story. What if their stories weren't good enough? So they never did. Sometimes they would make her some fresh bread or give her a little homemade gift or toss her some coins, but they would never tell their own story. Well, one day after the storyteller lit her fire, a young man came to her and he was just distraught. He had just lost his favorite horse. He said, "Storyteller, please tell me a story about loss. Tell me a story that will take away my pain." And the storyteller looked at him and she said, "You already have the story that needs to be told. Your story can help heal your pain." So the young man took a deep breath and his hands shook a little and his voice trembled, but he started to tell his story. And one by one, other villagers joined to listen. And when his story was over, the storyteller told her own story about loss. And their stories were different, but somehow they felt the same. And then other villagers began to tell their stories, one after another. And their stories were all different, but they somehow felt the same. The next morning, the villagers were surprised to see that the storyteller was gone. But beside her fire, she had left a note. Her note said, "You don't need me anymore. You have all of the stories you need to tell, and if you keep telling them, you will never be lonely." So from that point on, every night the villagers took turns playing storyteller. Someone would light the fire, and someone would offer a story, and they were never lonely. So my friends, when I read this story and when I thought about the campfire, I thought about our chalice. So I have for you this little image of a chalice with a quote from the story that says, "You have more stories than you will ever need if you only remember to share them." And there are some extras up front if anybody would like one. And thank you so much for joining me. That concludes our time for all ages. Here, I'm giving you a few so you can pass out to some friends if you would like. Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna need one of those.
Yeah.
Morning again, guys. How we all doing? So when I looked at all of my various bookings for this year, I never in a million years thought my first of the year would be a church gig. So let us all pray that I'm good, right? I'm actually here today to share a little story with you. It's actually about the first time I ever performed anything. And that's the sort of question that storytellers and performers get all the time, right? They're like, "Oh, when did it start for you? Was it a calling early on? Were you instantly the life of the party?" And I would love to be able to share with you all that it was magic, right? But the thing about this story is I was 7 years old, and I was unprepared. So this story is actually about failure. See, because I'm an only child. I grew up in the middle of the woods in Georgia. So beneath the long leaf pines, we couldn't even see our nearest neighbor, let alone a stage. So my opportunities for performance were very limited. But despite our kind of rural and distant upbringing, we did still find a way to bring people together. Because we had the one thing that anyone really wants and needs if you want to pull people together, especially in the South, especially in a hot summer day. What we had was a pool. And when you have a pool, you are always popular. A pool makes up for a lot of personal deficiencies. So our pool every summer, the peak of our popularity. Families with young kids would start coming through the long leaf pines to visit us like ants towards a picnic. Only they're wearing arm floaties and carrying fruit salads. And this particular summer, we also attracted not just these families, but the family of my cousin Ben. Well, okay, it wasn't the pool so much that attracted him, and it wasn't his whole family. You see, Ben's parents were actually going through a separation. And so he and his mother and his baby brother were coming down south to restart their lives with us amongst our long leaf pines and our swimming pools and our fruit salads. So that had to be a lot for him, right? He's going through a lot, but I'm excited to have him down. I miss my cousin. And so even though he's going through a lot, we know just how to pick him up. See, because Ben and I share summer birthdays. And there's nothing better you can have in the world if you have a summer birthday than a pool. And oh, that pool, a beautiful blue gem amongst that rural patch of green, like an oasis amongst those long leaf pines. Our patio was beautiful and wide all the way around the pool and stretched off to one side with hand-laid stone rockwork that my artist mother has put down. Plenty of room for picnic tables and dancing and merrymaking. And the spread we would lay out, picnic tables lined end to end, filled with potato chips and baskets of snacks and kind of weird-looking casseroles that the other moms would bring. Oh, and the grill. My dad and his redneck friends took an old oil drum and cut that sucker in half and then welded it back together into a meat-searing machine of epic proportions. The music playing rock and roll and country music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Oh, and the toys. It's a birthday party. After all, an entire table that my friends had brought filled with Transformers. This is the 1980s, early 90s, and so everything at that time was an object that transformed into another object. It ruled. It was great. So as you can see, this is a party. Except Ben's sad. He's off to one side, sullen and alone. And of course he's sad. Even though this is a party, to him it doesn't feel like his party. Because these are our friends, not his. His friends are 1,000 miles away. And he's going through so much, right? A separation of literal distance and also within his own family. And a pool is not going to fill that void for him. So Ben's sad. But I see that, and in that moment, I have an idea. Because I recognize there's one thing that this party doesn't have. There's one thing that, that every party in my child's mind should, nay, must have. What we need is a clown. So I snap into action. I ransack my dad's closet and find some oversized shoes and a shirt. I tie for the very first time my attempt at a tie. I find a sport coat and I Don Johnson up the sleeves so that it fits me. At my mom's vanity, I paste on the palest foundation I can find and grab her nice lipstick and draw an oversized mouth and big spots on my cheek. And while I'm at it, I grab her eyeliner and I draw over the course of those two just to really emphasize it. I'm the inventor of guyliner. And I look the natural tramp at this point, right? But I want to embody this story too. I create a backstory for my character. I see myself as something of a traveling bard, going town to town, a troubadour, a theater troupe of one by horse and buggy, going from town to town, entertaining all who will have and hear me. And I embody this story too. I even think, oh, what I'll do. I sneak from my own house and creep out and enter the woods. For if anyone is to see me approaching, they will immediately understand my character's motivations. So I'll creep in from my own woods with an exaggerated walk like a clown would, snapping my imaginary suspenders as I go. And I go to my own door and I knock 3 times. And a friend's mom opens the door and I say, "Hello, I am Bobby Bozo the Clown," ripping off the only clown I've ever heard of in my entire life. "I've been hired to entertain the children. And what's this? It's our birthday boy, Ben." And I'm sure it went just that smooth too, y'all. It just was perfect. Yeah, word perfect there. Ben and my friends are in a semicircle on our hardwood living room floor. And behind them is a small smattering of cross-armed parents who are, quite frankly, a little interested just to see what this show is going to be. And I'm right there with them. Because in that moment, as I take the stage, I realize I don't have any material. Somehow I thought that just the doing of the thing would then happen. So I'm a performer without an act. I'm a clown without a gag. I am living every performer's worst nightmare. But then it hits me, and I have an idea of what to do next. And I'm going to admit to y'all something. This is a dirty little thing. Please don't tell the performers in the world out there, because I might get into some trouble. What I did next was theft. Because I remember an odd children's television show that I had recently seen, and a magic trick that had happened on there. And this might have been Mr. Wizard or Captain Kangaroo or Slim Goodbody. Has anyone here ever heard of Slim Goodbody? One person. It wasn't a fever dream. Oh my God, I really saw it. Slim Goodbody, for y'all that don't know, he looked like Richard Simmons in a leotard, and it was emblazoned with bones and internal organs, and it was truly absurd. But that's sort of like somewhere between cable access and fever dream was every like 80s PBS television show that really built my entire personality. So that's what you have to thank for this. But I think of that trick, and in the moment I knew exactly what to do. So would y'all like to see it? Okay. Watch, 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 watch. It's a watch. Now look, I never said it was a good trick. I said it's all I had. And at that point, I realized that's it. That's all I've got. And so I'm sure I did a few mugged for the crowd or did maybe a pratfall, but I realized I've got nothing else. And so in that moment, I kind of panic and I say, all right, everybody into the pool. And I lead us all single file, racing and jumping into the water away from my failure. And I say failure because despite my best efforts, Ben was still sad. Later, I'm slumped, sullen, and alone, and I catch the eye of that mom who welcomed me into my own home. And she, from across the pool, she says, "Why are you sad? You're bozo." And I point upstairs, where Ben is now further distant from everyone, alone, sullen, and sad. There was nothing I could do that day to fix what he was going through. A clown wasn't going to cheer him up as much as my child's heart wanted it to. The party wouldn't work. The pool wouldn't fill it. So what I did that day was ultimately failure. But my intent was there. Because a magic trick that I tried, it requires me to work on it every day over and over and over again. And if I was worth my salt, I probably would have gotten it right by now. But I didn't do that work because I was 7. I wasn't prepared that day. And I think a lot of us realize at times in life, we run into situations where despite our best interests, we're not prepared. So I failed that day. But my intent was there. And I think that's the magic. Because kindness is magic, and compassion is magic. And each of us has a gift, whether it's a toy on a table, or a trick that you try, or a party, or a fruit salad. And you can give that gift freely every time you have. That's how I choose to live my life. As a traveling bard, giving what I can. And I hope that you too can realize that if you look in the world, you might find magic. All right, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. Okie dokie. One moment, please. Operators are standing by. I'm Beth Tura, and I serve on the Board of Trustees. We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It is one of our spiritual values which sustain the life and ministries of the church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Our Share the Plate for January is iDignity. Please use the link in the newsletter or on the screen to donate directly to them. Please let one you know that you donated. Now the offering will be collected. Note that you can also give online using the link.
They misbehaving.
Let us joyfully receive what is offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship. Thank you.
This is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow that you need witnessed or helped with, or have a joy that you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday during worship. To do so, you can send an email to joysandsorrows@orlandouu.org during the week. If you're attending in person, you can also fill out a card at the registration table and hand it to an usher before the start of service. And after the meditation, we invite you forward if you would wish to participate in our candle lighting ritual. Bring your joys and your sorrows as we come together. Come as you are. Your whole self is welcome in this sacred space we are creating together. Joys and sorrows from our congregation. A big thank you to everyone who volunteered to make the auction such a big success last night. And special thank you to all of the volunteers who worked tirelessly in the kitchen. Everything was delicious. Yeah, let's clap for that. We have some birthdays today. Eric's 35th birthday. Where's Eric? Woo, Eric. Also, Melissa Baker. Where's Melissa? Happy birthday! Now we have some concerns. This one was submitted last week by Tina McIntyre, but was overlooked. Apologies for that. Tina shares, today I am healing and recuperating from a skin cancer that was removed from my nose. It was larger than they thought, and it is now gone, but the process has been challenging for me and the family. Love and prayers are welcome. Thank you for being there. Two more concerns, sorrows. Marty Haney shares that Pete has had his third shoulder operation. The operation was a week ago, and Pete is in rehab at Encompass Health Altamont. And Marty says, thank you for all the hugs. And Jenny Lockington mourns the passing yesterday of her dear dog, Ella. So much love and joy is deeply missed. We're sorry for your loss. Now, from the larger community, a few dates to remember. January 27th is International Holocaust or Shoah Remembrance Day. And on January 29th, we wish a joyful and prosperous Lunar New Year to those who celebrate. We're sending continued solidarity, strength, and support to our local, national, and global community as we enter into a new presidential administration. And we continue to hold our Orlando families in love, our communities with care, and the world with our compassion by acting for justice in all of the small and large ways that will move the arc of justice. For all the joys and sorrows of this community shared today, and for those held close to our hearts, let's pray, let's celebrate, and send each other healing energy. I now invite us into meditative prayer with these words written by Reverend Alicia Ford. Spoken words will be followed by a moment of silent contemplation. When we take a moment to hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community, then we are living into the promise of building the world we dream about. In this spirit, we commit. In this spirit, we pray. You are now invited to come forward and to light a candle of remembrance, loving kindness, or hope. Our first candle will be lit to recognize the joys and sorrows of our online community, and the last candle to recognize the unspoken joys and sorrows of all in this room.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Hey again. Still Bobby. So for this part of the sermon, I thought we could reflect a moment on the value of stories and their purpose. To entertain, sure, but also there's the why of them. Like there's a purpose to story traditionally, historically, to teach, to share, to connect, to create community amongst ourselves. Before the written word, we've had the oral tradition for as long as we've had a civilization. That was the gathering around the campfire that we would do, right? We would come together and share what we've learned from the day and keep legacies alive. It's what brings us together today here as a congregation, truly. That connection, that community, shared values and understanding of one another. Now, in my craft, I tell true personal stories, but my friends at festivals that tell folk stories or fairy tales, they'll tell you that just because a story is made up doesn't mean that it's any less true. And you're all storytellers, whether you realize it or not. We're doing it every day in our lives. And we instinctively know how these stories work, whether they're parables or Greek myths, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're all familiar with the hero's journey, right? Luke Skywalker, or Jesus. And I mean that structurally, not ecumenically. But everybody always asks me how I got into storytelling. I'll be honest with you, it's how a lot of folks do. It's through my family. My mother says when she first started dating my father, she had never met a group of people who would come together as a family and just wait for their turn to talk. So storytellers, sure, but maybe not the best story listeners, right? But that's okay, because we all like to be heard, and especially we like to be seen. So sharing your story is a gift, your knowledge, your history, but so is receiving someone else's story. That's being a story listener. Exchanging our stories brings us together. It's how we make new friendships and how we can strengthen old ones as well. As I've reflected on my experience in saying words from various stages, it's only made me believe in people and community that much more. That's truly my church. Like, that's me helping and trying to give and build community and connection. So at the event I host locally, Orlando Story Club, February 12th at City Arts, everybody. That's the one plug of this event that I'll do today. But we say that we're doing community building through storytelling. And so over the last 10 years of doing this here locally, I've heard hundreds of stories from people just in this community about their lives. And some of them are funny, and some of them are heartfelt, and some of them are very challenging. Some of them are weird, but they're all great because they're coming from people's heart and they're being heard in a space that we've created a culture where people can come and share openly of themselves and be heard and seen. And we also give great hugs. But the event's only successful because everyone is there to learn about each other and see ourselves in someone else's experience regardless of where they're from. Like, that's where I met Elizabeth. At the time, it's literally a visible difference because at the time she was very visibly pregnant with her son. So there's an actual change of time and physicality between our friendship, and we were instantly friends. But I'll tell you about someone that I met through storytelling, Madeline Potts. She's a local storyteller, and we could not be from more different worlds. Madeline is in her 80s. She's a Jewish woman from Brooklyn, and she spent her entire life traveling the country as a potter, selling her wares at art fairs. But when she takes the stage, she was one of the first tellers I saw in this town. Her voice is magic, and she's like an elfin creature. And as she tells the stories, you can hear you can feel the crunching of the leaves beneath your feet. It's glorious. So when we tell together, we see each other in our stories, even though we could not be from different parts of the world or different experiences. So, whether it's at Orlando Story Club or around the dinner table, we're all sharing our experiences. We're creating the kind of community that we want to see in the world with the way we share and the way we receive. Expressive, open, empathetic. So I do encourage you to share more of your stories with the people that you care about in your life. It's how we learn from each other. So everyone always asks, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, people ask like, what stories should I tell, right? And honestly, it's the ones that are closest to you. You all have those stories that just kind of come to your mind whenever you just want to get something out or when someone's having a conversation with you. Or those small flash moments, a little thing, a sense memory. It's hard though, because we don't always know the people in our lives that we're closest with. We don't always know those details about each other. It's easy to create caricatures of our parents or even of our close friends. Like, my mom did not know that clown story until I wrote and performed it for the first time, like 2 weeks ago. I guess she was out in the back making fruit salads. I don't know. So if you want to share a story or if you just want to connect with someone, start with the story that you know. Start with something that's connected to your heart, those important moments to you. Because we all have them, whether it's a smell from your childhood or a time you laughed really, really hard. It might have been a church laugh. It was probably a church laugh. Those are like top 5 laughs all time. But share those with your loved ones whenever you can. Every chance you get, make it weird. Overshare. Like, don't be afraid to. It's beautiful. But storytelling is ultimately about being present with another person. It's about sharing your experience, and that's a conversation. It's not so much about the thing that you're sharing, but the reason why you're sharing it with that person in that moment. That's the why of story. It's because of the person in front of you. The conversation that you're having with them sparked something inside of you, and that encouraged you to share. But that requires listening. Seeing your friends and family deeply. But the good news is that y'all are doing it all the time, again, whether you realize it or not. Unless you're a member of my family and you're just waiting on your turn to talk. But you do a service to your fellow man by listening, not just to their words, but understanding them and their why. Seeing them for who they are and seeing yourself in their experience. Your story and your experience is a gift. And hearing and embracing the stories of others is a gift as well. And doing so freely, without judgment, while seeking understanding and union, that's the kind of community I want to build.
Please rise now in body or in spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
Our closing words are "We Are One" by Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, apologizing that I skipped ahead with humility, and being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. All right, our call to action today is also me, and I just want to say your story is important because you are important. And despite what you might be struggling through or looking at every day, your story is unique and it is different because it is yours. So I encourage you to share your story again. And I got a little homework for you. Yeah. If I got a church gig, you got storytelling homework, all right? That's the deal. So we started today by sharing a little bit with each other about what brought you here. And as you leave today, I hope that you'll just do this little exercise, because there's a way that you can tell your story every single day. And it might change every day, and that's okay too. So I encourage you to think of 3 moments from your life, right? They could be anything, big or small. And think about, pick those moments out of the air. And then with a friend or with a family member, share how those 3 moments brought you to today, to who you are today, either where you are physically or who you are personally. And just share that story. And you'll find that that story is going to change a little bit each day. But you can do this every single day. And the moments you choose may change, but your story is always important. And I hope that you'll connect and learn and love one another and love yourself as well.
Thank you, Bobby. Now, please say these words with me as we extinguish this flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire